Hello everyone, today I will show you how to use sprite animations inside your UI elements. To get started with, we need to create a project. So I'm using Unity 2019.1.1 F1, so you can pick any version you like. The first thing we need is a sprite sheet that has the frames to be played in the animation. So I've already downloaded one animation frame, so we'll just import that in the project. Okay, so one requirement of this is the sprite sheet has to be under the resources folder. So we'll create a new folder called resources and move the texture under that folder. Okay, so now we have the file under resources folder. Now if you click on the texture here, you will see only one sprite under the texture. But instead, if you see this image, it has a lot of frames. So we need to tell Unity that this texture is a sprite sheet. So the way we inform Unity to do that is click on the texture here. In sprite mode, instead of single, click on multiple and hit apply. Once you do that, see the sprite sheet has gone now. So we need to tell how many. Now we have to pick the sprite, the frames. So click on sprite editor, click on slice, use the type as automatic and hit slice. Once you do that, you will see all the sprites have been extracted from one texture. Hit apply and close this. Once you go back, now you will see all these frames. So this texture has totally 24 frames of animations. You will see this here in the inspector one by one. Okay, so now we have our sprite sheet ready with all the frames. The next thing that we need to do is create an image. So let me start from scratch. So create an image. Let's set it in the center of the screen. Okay, so we have an image now. We will be playing all our sprite animations on this image. So next step is to create a script that will play your animation. So create a script. Let's call it as sprite anim. Okay, now open it. The first thing we need to do is we need to have a reference to the image. So okay, so private image include the namespace. Let's call it image. Okay, so in start we will go and get a reference to the image component. Okay, so now we have a reference to our image. The next thing we need to do is load the sprite sheet. So let's create a function called load sprite sheet. Okay, okay, so all our sprites are our sprite sheet is under the resources folder. So what we need is to create a list. So we'll create private sprite and array. So let's call it as sprites. Okay, so we come back to load sprite function, and sprites equal to resources dot load all of type sprite and specify the sheet name. So our sheet name is, so let's just copy this name. Okay, now we need to check if our loading of the sprite was successful or not. So even if this asset name is not available in the project, or if there is a typo error, the sprite will never be null. So it will be an array with a length of 0. So let's check for that. To be on the space saver side, first check if it is null or not, and if it has length of greater than 0. Okay, else we will just throw an error, log error, failed to load sprite sheet. Okay, so now our sprites, if we are here, that means our sprite are loaded. The next thing we need to know is what is the speed with which we are playing the animation. So let's expose some variables for it. So let's make it public int frame rate. So I would like to keep it as 30. So I would like to play the animation with a frame rate of 30. So that means each frame is about 0.033 seconds. Okay. The next thing is we need to calculate how much time each frame has to be stuck to. So we will create one more variable called private float m time per frame. Okay, let's keep it to 0 for now. We will fill it later. Okay, so here now time per frame is 1f over frame rate. So this will decide how long each frame will be held. Now we need to calculate the keep track of the timer. So for that, let's create one more variable. Go to 0. Okay. So now inside the update function, okay, there is a typo over here. Let's fix it. Okay, inside the update function, we will say elapsed time plus equals time dot data time. So if our elapsed time is greater than or equal to time per frame, we need to move to the next frame. So for that, we need to keep track of how many frames we have and which frame we are drawing. So let's create one more variable. Private, this will be an integer m current index, or let's call it current frame. So we start from 0 by default. So if we are here, then current frame plus. Okay, now let's check if we reach the end of the frame. If current frame is greater than or equal to m sprites dot length, then we have reached the end of the frame. Okay, so this is we are good. Now we need to just spread the sprite. So let's create one more function. Set sprite. So here we will just apply the sprite from the sprite list. Okay, that's it. Now after we change it, we need to apply the frame. Okay, and just make sure that we are well within ranges here. So if m current frame is greater than or equal to 0 and m current frame is less than the sprite dot length. Okay. So after we load the sprite sheet, the first thing we do is we calculate how much time each frame requires. Okay, once we do that, now we have to start playing the animation. So let's keep this disabled by default. Now we create a function called play. Let's call it, then it has to be public void time play. Okay, so when we call play, the first thing we need to do is enable this and start animation. Okay, once we reach end, we just disable the script. Okay, now let's see how it works. So we have an image over here. Now attach the newly created script to this. Now hit run. Now, so the animation played, but it played really fast, so we couldn't see it. So let's add one more variable that will control our animation speed. Let's call it as public float equals 1. The default value will be 1. So we will just multiply this value with the delta time. Okay, let's go back to Unity again. Let it compile. Okay, run. Okay, so it is playing. Now let's reduce the speed to just 0.1. If you see now, you can see the animation going much smaller than now. Okay, let's add a looping option. So we'll add one more flag over here. So public bool loop, default value is false. Now when we reach the end of the frame, we check for this flag. If looping is enabled, then we set the current frame back to 0, else we disable the script. Okay, and one more thing. Okay, well, we made one mistake over here. The elapsed time should have been 0. Once we move to the next frame, the elapsed time has to be set to 0. Okay, let's see how it works now. Okay, so this is really slow, so let's increase the speed to 0.5. Yeah, so this was without looping, so let's stop it. Let's get back to speed of 1, enable looping, and now run. Okay, now it is looping. So this is all you need to do to get the UI animations inside, sprite animations inside the UI. So by default this is white text. Instead of that, you can just do this, drag and drop one of them here. So this is your first frame from which you start the animation. Okay, so hope you guys like it. Thank you.